Good morning, friends, once again to Comics Odyssey. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to look at Understanding Comics Chapter 8, Week 8, the penultimate video in this series. We got 9 chapters to go. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Don't rely on notes to follow these videos, these newsletters, as I will be appearing considerably less on notes. I've recently started going to martial arts again, and it's eating up a lot of hours. It's good. It's a good thing that I'm back in martial arts because it keeps me disciplined, and it's good for my mental health. So certain things have to be sacrificed in order to balance out the time budget. So I'm really thinking deeply about my internet usage habits. So I'm struggling to keep up with the weekly schedule, so certain things are going to have to be cut out, and definitely internet stuff. Like I've removed Substack from my phone, I've removed Discord, I've chopped a lot of subscriptions from my YouTube. So do subscribe so you don't miss these videos. As far as Spirit Girl goes, I am inking Spirit Girl. I'll show you a few pages here. Spirit Girl 3. I don't know how many pages I've got inked. I don't know. I want to say it's probably about half inked at this point, maybe a bit more than half. I still have to go around, do some washes, do some whites, and then lettering and all that good stuff. So here's what it's shaping out to be. I feel I've really improved for Spirit Girl 3. So it's just a few pages to show you here. So stay tuned. Making comics is a process that takes a long time, and especially when you care about making it with love, like I do. So good things come to those who wait, as they say. Excuse me. I think I might be catching a bit of a cold. Here's hoping I'm not. The first bit of this, we're going to pretty much completely skip. It's a theory of what art is, and I've always thought that this was an absolutely silly theory, and pretty much 100% completely wrong. I'm not really interested in excoriating Mr. McCloud's theory of art. He's such a brilliant man, and I am very grateful for the work he's done. I definitely am happy to allow him a misstep here and there. But if you guys have the book and you read this and you wanna have a chat about it, open up. You can paid subscribers can open up new threads in the chat on Substack, and so we could maybe have a conversation more in a private corner over there. comicsodyssey.substack.com for those watching on YouTube. Here's the interesting part of chapter 8. It's talking about the 6 steps of the creative process. Idea, form, idiom, structure, craft, surface. This is not necessarily a sequence of steps, right? And he explains later how we don't necessarily always start with step 1. We might start with step 6, actually, right? Or step 3. So, but here's how the components that he's broken the creative process into. So first starts with an idea. So that's basically the content. So maybe it starts with you have something to say. You have a story to tell. And then subsequently you decide what form that story will be. Is it going to be a movie? Is it going to be a book? Are you going to write a song? Or are you going to make a comic book? Right? So the form is basically the vessel for the content, which is the story in this sense. Maybe it's not a story. Maybe it's an idea, right? And so in that sense, maybe a sculpture or painting is more appropriate to that. Idiom is what style, the vocabulary of the form, so the genre. So is it going to be a sci-fi story? Is it in painting? Is it going to be abstract expressionism, or is it going to be photorealism? So that's the style, the genre. Finally, the structure is how it's kind of like editing. So what you keep in, what you leave out, how you arrange it, how you compose it. Excuse me. Like in music, is it going to be verse, chorus, right? Are you going to put a bridge in there? In comics, it's what are going to be your story beats and so forth. Finally, the craft. So that's the actual skill that you require in order to get the work done. So in comics, it's your pens, your pencils, your different skills that you need to have. You have to be able to ink, you have to be able to pencil. So which components of the craft are you going to be doing yourself? Which are you going to outsource? For a writer, it's, the language, grammar, and that sort of thing. And then finally, the surface is like the finishing. So what the product ultimately ends up looking like. So, what paper is it printed on? It's going to be glossy. Is it going to be, it's basically like how the senses perceive the final product, right? So he's talking about how often he's using an illustration here as these are all layers of an apple, right? You could say it's layers of an onion, but you probably wouldn't bite into an onion. And he's saying sometimes you encounter like a work of art, and as you engage with it, you realize it's quite hollow, right? Because the surface is there, but there's no the rest of it is there's really like a really thin idea or poor structure and that sort of thing. So here he discusses the kind of the evolution of an artist, of a storyteller, or let's keep it to comic books, of a comic maker, and where various people exit the pursuit of making comics, right? For instance, a kid might fall in love with the X-Men, and he loves it so much, he's like, I'm going to draw comics, right? And he interprets, because of the lack of understanding, that there's a lot going behind. There's a lot that goes behind the construction of comics. He's just mostly kind of focused on the surface, and his idea is quite weak. It's more like, I want to do the thing that's cool, which is which is an excellent starting point. Absolutely. For instance, like I taught music a little bit, and I found that like the way that people teach music. I also instructed martial arts a little bit in an amateur's context, and I found that the people have the right idea and that they teach the fundamentals and the basics, but they don't teach how those fundamentals and those basics will benefit the artist, right? When people want to learn guitar, it's because they want to learn cool songs, right? So you got to teach them the basics and the fundamentals by teaching them stuff that they think is cool, right? Because otherwise they won't stay engaged. If you're just having them practice scales, which is absolutely necessary, I get it, but if they just think that music is just about practicing scales, they'll get out. They might give up. So you got to give them a chance, right? Same like in boxing, you have to know how to properly jab, right? It's absolutely and you got to know how to have a proper stance, but you got to teach them how that's cool. Like, anyway, that's how I see it. So, some kid who might like be just more like surface attracted might be all excited and then show his portfolio to a pro who then points out how he's got a lot to work on, and he does, but because there's the purpose, the heart idea, the core of it wasn't explored, he might leave it because he might leave the pursuit of comics because it just becomes about the technical part of it. Some people might stay there and start collaborating with people who are more into the other parts of the pursuit of comics, but some people might just leave, whereas others might continue, kind of up level and become crafts people and become better at the craft, and might be simply they just go from comic job to comic job, and then others might become even more obsessed, and they start to really dig into the structure, idiom, and form and craft to really figure out how mastery of those steps will serve their idea, their purpose, right? Which is where I consider myself to be. I started this at a later age, and I've had my career in music to draw on, whereas so I kind of have a certain I don't mean to toot my own horn or anything, but I bring to this a certain maturity, so I appreciate that even though my craft side and all that requires some refinement, and I have a lot to learn, I do have a pretty strong purpose, which keeps me kind of powering through those difficult steps of that learning curve, and so on and so forth. So he's talking about how the masters really ultimately end up going back to the idea or the form to the surface. So some masters will end up choosing to be primarily storytellers and focus on their idea and have the rest of the steps serve their purpose, which is where I kind of consider myself not a master, but I consider that the medium of comics really is a means to an end to tell the story. Whereas some people will begin to focus more on the form, and they become people who are interested in innovating the medium itself. So we have somebody like Spiegelman who's done that kind of thing. He's giving examples here, and he's not like he's not placing a value judgment on one or the other, but it ultimately comes down to the question, why am I doing this, right? Am I doing this because I have a story to tell? Am I doing this because I want to contribute to the medium, right? Or is it simply I need to earn a paycheck, right? So that's going to dictate what you're going to focus on. On his follow-up book, Making Comics, I find he goes back into this and does a better job of it, and breaks the different comic artists down into archetypes. How long have we been going? We have time? Yeah, I'm going to pull that up and let's look at it real quick. Should be able to find that here. Let's look at the table of contents. Let's see. Making Comics. Your Place in Comics. 212. We're gonna have a bit of a longer video to explore this topic here. Understanding genres. It's not what we want. Here. He's broken down the different types of artists into 4 categories, 4 archetypes. The classicists prioritize excellence, hard work, mastery of craft, and the quest for enduring beauty. So these artists are going to be more form, structure, surface oriented, not surface in a negative way. Their priority is to make beautiful things, right? Animists place the content first, so the idea, the purpose, is what ultimately drives their pursuit. The desire to create life through art, and are more temperamentally going to trust their intuition. So definitely, I'm much more of an animist than a classicist. Formalists are prioritizing experimentation and loyalty to the form, to the comics form. These are people who are interested in innovating different ways of telling stories. So the story is maybe less, it can be balanced, right? But perhaps the story is less prioritized, and the way of telling the story matters more. And then we have the Iconoclasts, who are pushing towards honesty, vitality, authenticity, and unpretentiousness, putting life first. So he's placing people like, what's his name? Robert Crumb, and our internet friend Ed Piskor, who tragically passed away not too long ago, would have been definitely an iconoclast, right? Yeah, and he's talking about how some of these go well together and others don't, right? So the Animists and the Classicists work really well together, you know. Anyway, I'm not going to go too deep into that, but this is kind of good to think about. Like, I found this was a better way of explaining kind of like the creative process. So, for me, Animist, Iconoclast, a little bit of Iconoclast, and maybe a smidge of Classicist. But those two don't really go well together because the Classicists are going to be a little bit more oriented towards tradition. So there's a bit of a tension there. We'll see. I'm still early in my process. We'll see where we go, right? But definitely Animist for sure. So you tell me in the comments, which of these archetypes do you think you resonate most with in terms of your pursuit of your art? It'd be interesting to have a discussion about that. That's it for this week. Next week we're going to do the putting it all together. Week 9. It's going to be some technical stuff. Were we? I guess we were in chapter 7. I thought we were in week 8. Wait, did I mess something up here? 9? I don't know. I think I may have miscounted or something. I don't know. We might do 8 and 9 together because, there's a lot of just review and stuff. Thank you for your attention and your patronage. If you haven't considered yet, please consider getting a paid subscription. It's I've permanently discounted to $250 a month, which is really, I think, is a good deal. There's going to be some paid content coming up that are like previews of Spirit Girl 3. I'm having a good time doing that. After Spirit Girl 3 is out, I've got plans for a big mapping and world building project. I'm working with my friend who helps me out from time to time with that. He's got a master's in geography, and it's really kind of blowing my mind how much geography can inform the storytelling process. And it's so vital, so exciting to be working on this. And I've gotten really obsessed about this mapping project, down to grid system, and I went on bike rides to figure out the average size of a block and the average amount of houses per block. I'm getting pretty deep into this mapping project. I might do some live streams at some point, or I don't know. We'll see how it all goes. I think that's it. Thanks for your patience, for watching to the end. I'm so grateful that there are people who care about this content and find it useful and valuable. So kudos to you. Good work. Have a good rest of your week, and God bless. Bye-bye.